October 24, 1944, 8:47 a.m. Philippine Sea, 40 miles east of Leyte Gulf. Commander David McCampbell banks his F-6F Hellcat hard left and sees them. 60 Japanese aircraft, maybe more. A massive formation coming in low over the water, heading straight for the American fleet. Half of them are kamikazes, pilots who have already written their farewell letters, already said goodbye to their families, already accepted that this is a one-way trip. They're not trying to survive this fight. They're trying to die taking an American carrier with them. McCampbell has 7 planes. 7 Hellcats against 60 Japanese fighters and bombers. The math is impossible. The mission is suicide. And there's no time to wait for reinforcements. If these kamikazes reach the fleet, if even a quarter of them get through, the carnage will be unimaginable. Carriers burning, destroyers sinking, thousands of sailors dying in burning oil slicks. McCampbell checks his fuel gauge, checks his ammunition counter, keys his radio. Essex, this is McCampbell. I've got about 60 bandits inbound. We're engaging. Then he pushes the throttle forward and dives into the enemy formation. What happens in the next 90 minutes will become the single most deadly air combat mission by a U.S. Navy pilot in World War II. 9 Japanese aircraft will fall from the sky, all of them shot down by one man. David McCampbell will land with 4 rounds of ammunition left and fumes in his fuel tank. And the American fleet will survive because one pilot said no. David McCampbell was born January 16, 1910, in Bessemer, Alabama. Steeltown, working class. His father died when David was young, leaving his mother to raise him and his siblings alone. She was tough, practical, taught her children that life doesn't owe you anything. You want something? You earn it. You want respect? You prove you deserve it. McCampbell learned early. By the time he graduated high school, he knew exactly what he wanted. The Naval Academy. Not an easy path for a kid from Alabama with no family connections and no money. The appointment process is brutal. Congressional recommendations, competitive examinations. Only the best get in. McCampbell makes it. 1929. He's 19 years old, starting his plebe year at Annapolis, the same year the stock market crashes and the Great Depression begins. 4 years of discipline, 4 years of engineering, navigation, tactics, seamanship. The academy doesn't just teach you how to be an officer. It breaks you down and rebuilds you into something harder. June 1933. McCampbell graduates. Ensign, United States Navy. He expects to go to flight school immediately. The Navy has other plans. Budget cuts. The Depression is grinding America into dust. The Navy can't afford to train new pilots. McCampbell spends the next 2 years on cruisers. He doesn't complain. He learns. Navigation, gunnery, how ships move, how they fight, how they die. He's learning to think like a naval officer. That knowledge will save his life later. The Navy finally sends McCampbell to Pensacola, Naval Air Station, flight training. This is what he's been waiting for. Flying is different than anything McCampbell has experienced. In the academy, you follow rules. On a ship, you execute orders. In an aircraft, alone at 15,000 feet, you make split-second decisions that determine whether you live or die. And the Navy doesn't teach you gently. They put you in a biplane with a 220 horsepower engine and tell you to figure it out. Solo flight, carrier landings, formation flying, dive bombing. Each phase designed to wash out the pilots who can't handle the pressure. Landing on a carrier is controlled insanity. You're approaching a moving deck at 90 miles per hour. The ship is pitching in the waves. The landing area is 500 feet long. Miss the arresting wires and you go into the ocean or crash into the barrier. The mortality rate is significant. McCampbell earns his wings, gets assigned to Fighting Squadron 3 aboard USS Ranger. He's a naval aviator now, but the Navy is peacetime Navy. Training cruises, exercises, nothing real, nothing dangerous. McCampbell spends the next several years flying patrols, practicing maneuvers, waiting for something to happen. He has no idea what's coming. December 7th, 1941. Pearl Harbor. The Japanese attack changes everything. America is at war. The Pacific Fleet is burning in. Hawaii. The Navy needs every pilot it has. McCampbell is assigned to USS Wasp as the landing signal officer, not a combat position. The LSO is the guy who waves the flags and brings aircraft safely aboard. Critical job, sure, but McCampbell wants to fight. Wasp deploys to the Pacific. April 1942. The carrier war is brutal and chaotic. Coral Sea. Midway, carriers trading blows across hundreds of miles of ocean. Wasp isn't at those battles. She's running ferry missions, delivering aircraft to Malta and other bases. September 15, 1942. Wasp is operating near Guadalcanal when a Japanese submarine puts 3 torpedoes into her. The explosions rupture fuel lines. Aviation gasoline floods the lower decks. Fire spreads instantly. 193 men die. The carrier is abandoned, then scuttled. McCampbell survives. He's pulled from the water by a destroyer, watching his ship sink, watching men burn. It's the closest he's come to death. It won't be the last time. The Navy promotes him, gives him his own squadron. Air Group 15, the fabled 15, operating from USS Essex. Now finally, McCampbell is going to war. June 19, 1944. The Philippine Sea, the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot, the largest carrier battle of the Pacific War. 9 American carriers against 5 Japanese carriers. The Japanese have 430 aircraft. The Americans have 450 and better pilots, better planes, better tactics, better everything. The battle is a massacre. American pilots tear through Japanese formations like sharks through a school of fish. Japanese pilots, hastily trained replacements for the veterans who died at Midway and the Coral Sea, barely know how to fly. They certainly don't know how to fight. McCampbell leads his squadron into the meat grinder. The radio chatter is chaos. Bogies at 3 o'clock, 6 more at 10. Splash 1. Splash 2. I'm on his tail. McCampbell shoots down 5 planes in 8 minutes. 5 aircraft, 5 pilots, 5 confirmed. Kills before lunch. The engagement becomes a turkey shoot because that's what it looks like. Japanese planes falling from the sky like birds. By the end of the day, the Japanese lose 330 aircraft. The Americans lose 30. It's not a battle, it's an execution. And David McCampbell is just getting started. August 24th, 1944. Another massive air battle over the Philippines. This time McCampbell and his wingman encounter a formation of 60 Japanese aircraft. 2 Americans, 60 Japanese. Standard doctrine says you call for help and shadow the enemy until reinforcements arrive. McCampbell attacks immediately. 90 minutes. That's how long the fight lasts. McCampbell and his wingman dive into the formation and start killing. There's no hesitation, no fear, just cold, mechanical efficiency. Target, lead, fire, watch it burn, move to the next. The F-6F Hellcat is a monster. 2,000 horsepower engine, 650 caliber machine guns in the wings, 400 rounds per gun, armor, plating protecting the pilot, self-sealing fuel tanks. It's built to absorb punishment and keep flying. It's built for pilots like McCampbell. The Japanese planes, Zeros and Vals and Kates, are lighter, more maneuverable, but fragile. A burst from a Hellcat's guns will tear a Zero apart. McCampbell shoots down 7 aircraft. His wingman gets 6. 13 Japanese planes destroyed, 2 Americans. When they finally break off, McCampbell's fuel is critical. He's flying on fumes. His ammunition is gone. He makes it back to Essex with nothing left. No bullets, no gas. Just his plane and his will to survive. The Navy awards him the Navy Cross, 3rd highest decoration. But McCampbell doesn't care about medals. He cares about killing the enemy and protecting his men. 2 months later, he'll prove it again. October 24th, 1944. The Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in history. 4 separate engagements over 3 days. 200,000 men. 282 ships. The Japanese are throwing everything they have left at the American invasion fleet. If they can destroy the carriers, if they can sink the transports, they can cut off MacArthur's forces on Leyte and maybe turn the tide of the war. It's a desperate gamble, and it almost works. The Japanese have developed a new weapon, kamikazes, suicide pilots, the special attack units, young men, barely trained, strapped into aircraft loaded with bombs and told to dive into American ships. No parachutes, no survival gear, one-way missions. At first, American commanders think it's propaganda. No military would deliberately sacrifice trained pilots like that. Then the first kamikaze hits USS St. Lo. The escort carrier explodes and sinks in 30 minutes. 113 men die. Suddenly, the threat is real and terrifying. A conventional bomber tries to hit you and escape. You can shoot it down. A kamikaze doesn't care about escaping. He's going to hit you or die trying. Probably both. Even if you damage the aircraft, even if you kill the pilot, the plane is still coming. Momentum, gravity, a ton of aircraft and explosives falling from the sky onto your deck. Carriers are floating bombs, aviation fuel, munitions, hundreds of sailors. One kamikaze in the wrong place can turn a carrier into an inferno. October 24th, 8:30 a.m. McCampbell is the KEG, the Commander Air Group. He's not supposed to fly every mission. He's supposed to coordinate, to plan, to send younger pilots into combat, while he stays safe on the ship. McCampbell doesn't care about supposed to. When the radar picks up a massive Japanese formation heading for the fleet, he's in his Hellcat and launching within minutes. 7 planes total. McCampbell leads. Roy Rushing, his wingman, is beside him. 5 more Hellcats behind. They climb to 12,000 feet and turn toward the contact. The radio crackles. McCampbell, we're showing 60-plus bandits. 40 miles out, inbound fast. McCampbell keys his mic. Roger, we've got them. 7 against 60. No one says it out loud, but everyone knows the odds. If they engage, some of them won't come back. If they don't engage, the fleet burns. There's no choice. At 10 miles, McCampbell sees them, a massive gaggle of Japanese aircraft. Fighters, bombers, torpedo planes, all mixed together, flying low, heading straight for Essex and her sister carriers. Some of those planes have regular pilots. Some are kamikazes. McCampbell can't tell the difference. From a distance, doesn't matter. They all have to die. He arms his guns. 6 50 calibers, 2,400 rounds total. Checks his gun sight. Pushes the throttle to combat power. Let's go to work. McCampbell doesn't wait for the Japanese to see him. He dives straight into the formation from above. Classic fighter tactics. Speed, altitude, surprise. The first Zero never knows what hit it. McCampbell closes to 300 feet, the 6 machine guns converging on the enemy's fuselage. He squeezes the trigger. The Hellcat shudders. Tracers arc through the air. The Zero disintegrates. Wings separate. Fuselage tumbles. Pilot dead before he can react. 1 down. McCampbell pulls up, rolls left, spots another target. A Val dive bomber. Slow, vulnerable, trying to get into position for its attack run. McCampbell drops in behind it. The Japanese rear gunner opens fire. 7.7mm rounds. Barely a threat. McCampbell ignores them. Closes to 200 feet. Fires. The Val's engine explodes. The aircraft noses down and hits the water. 2 down. The Japanese formation is chaos now. They've realized they're under attack. Zeros are breaking off, trying to engage the Americans. The bombers are scattering. Perfect. Confusion is McCampbell's ally. A scattered enemy is a dead enemy. He spots a Kate torpedo bomber trying to escape. Big, slow, loaded with a Type 91 torpedo. If that thing reaches the fleet, it can sink a carrier. McCampbell chases it down. The Kate pilot knows he's being hunted. He's weaving, trying to stay alive long enough to drop his torpedo. McCampbell is relentless. He closes to 100 feet. At that range, he can see the tail gunner's face. Young, terrified. The gunner fires. McCampbell fires back. The Kate's wing root erupts in flames. The aircraft cartwheels into the ocean. 3 down. McCampbell pulls up, scanning for threats. The dogfight has spread across miles of sky. His squadron is scattered, each pilot fighting their own battle. The radio is screaming, "Break left. On your 6. Splash 1. I'm hit. I'm hit." McCampbell spots a Zero diving on one of his pilots. He banks hard, pulls lead, fires from 400 yards out. Long shot, difficult shot. The burst catches the Zero in the cockpit. The aircraft flips inverted and spins into the sea. 4 down. McCampbell's ammunition counter is dropping. 2,400 rounds sounds like a lot. It's not. At 750 rounds per minute per gun, you can empty all 6 guns in less than 30 seconds of continuous fire. McCampbell fires in bursts. 1 second, 2 seconds. Enough to kill but not waste ammunition. He's running the math in his head. How many rounds left? How many targets? How long until he's dry? Another Zero crosses in front of him. McCampbell doesn't hesitate. Fires. The Zero's engine seizes. Black smoke. The pilot bails out. Parachute blossoms. McCampbell doesn't watch. He's already looking for the next target. 5 down. The Japanese formation is breaking apart. Some aircraft are fleeing. Some are still trying to reach the fleet. McCampbell picks another bomber. Closes. Fires. The aircraft explodes in midair. 6 down. His hands are cramping from gripping the stick. His neck aches from constantly swiveling his head, checking for threats. G-forces from the turns are crushing him into his seat. He's been in combat for 20 minutes. It feels like hours. Another Zero. This pilot is good. Experienced. He sees McCampbell coming and turns into him. Classic defensive maneuver. Turns the fight into a turning battle. Zeros are more maneuverable than Hellcats. In a slow-speed turning fight, the Zero should win. McCampbell knows this. He doesn't turn with the Zero. He extends, uses his speed and power to climb above the enemy, then comes back down with an energy advantage. The Zero pilot tries to follow. Can't. The Hellcat is too fast. McCampbell rolls inverted, pulls through, and ends up on the Zero's tail. It's textbook. The kind of maneuver they teach at Pensacola. The kind of maneuver that works if you're good enough not to screw it up. McCampbell fires. The Zero's tail section disintegrates. The aircraft tumbles. 7 down. He's burning through ammunition now. Half gone. Maybe more. He spots another bomber, a Betty, twin engine, huge, flying low over the water, trying to escape. McCampbell dives on it. The Betty's gunners open up, 20mm cannon in the tail, 7.7mm machine guns in the dorsal and ventral positions. The Betty is a flying fortress. McCampbell doesn't care. He closes to 200 feet and holds the trigger down. 3 seconds. 4, 5. The Hellcat's guns are hammering. Tracers walking up the Betty's fuselage. One engine catches fire, then the other. The bomber noses down and hits the water at 200 miles per hour. The explosion sends up a column of spray 100 feet high. 8 down. McCampbell pulls up and realizes he's alone. His squadron is scattered across 50 miles of ocean. Some have broken off to escort damaged aircraft home. Some are still hunting. The Japanese formation is destroyed. What's left is fleeing west, back toward their bases. McCampbell should go home. His fuel is low. His ammunition is nearly gone. He's been in combat for over an hour. Any rational pilot would break off and head for the carrier. McCampbell spots one more aircraft. A Zero, limping along at 2,000 feet, trailing smoke, probably damaged from another engagement, trying to make it back to base. McCampbell checks his ammunition. Less than 100 rounds left. The Zero is maybe 3 miles away. If McCampbell chases it, he might not have enough fuel to make it back to Essex. If he chases it and misses, he's wasted ammunition and fuel for nothing. McCampbell banks toward the Zero. He's not thinking about fuel or ammunition or odds. He's thinking about the fact that if this Zero makes it home, the pilot will be back tomorrow or next week. And maybe that pilot will be the one who kills an American. He closes to 300 feet. The Zero pilot sees him, tries to turn. Too slow, too damaged. McCampbell fires his last burst. 50 rounds. The Zero's canopy shatters. The aircraft noses down and crashes into the ocean. 9 down. McCampbell's guns are empty. He's out of ammunition. No bullets. Nothing. Just an aircraft and gravity. He turns east, heading back toward the fleet. Checks his fuel gauge. The needle is bouncing near empty. He's got maybe 10 minutes of flight. Time left. Maybe less. The carrier is 40 miles away. At cruise speed, that's about 15 minutes. McCampbell does the math. He might make it, might not. He leans out the fuel mixture, reduces throttle, flies as efficiently as possible. Every drop of fuel matters now. The radio crackles. McCampbell, Essex. State your status. Low on fuel. Winchester. Heading home. Winchester is the code word for out of ammunition. Essex responds. Roger. We've got you on radar. Vector 09 EO. You're 35 miles. Out. McCampbell adjusts course, focuses on flying smoothly. No wasted energy, no unnecessary maneuvering, just straight and level flight. The Pratt & Whitney engine drones steadily. So far, it's not coughing. That's good. When the engine starts coughing, you've got seconds before it quits. At 20 miles out, McCampbell spots the fleet. Dozens of ships spread across the ocean. Carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers. All of them still floating. All of them safe. Because 7 Hellcats. Stopped 60 Japanese aircraft. Because one pilot shot down 9 of them. The fuel gauge reads empty now. The needle is below the E. McCampbell is flying on vapor. On hope. The deck of Essex is visible now. He calls the tower. Essex, McCampbell. Request emergency landing. I'm on fumes. Roger, McCampbell. You're cleared. Bring it in. Landing on a carrier is difficult in perfect conditions. Landing with no fuel is terrifying. If the engine quits before you catch the wire, you're going into the ocean. No second chances, no wave-offs. You get one shot. McCampbell lines up his approach. The LSO is on the deck, flags raised, guiding him in. The Hellcat is heavy, sluggish, flying just above stall speed. McCampbell crosses the ramp. The LSO signals cut. McCampbell chops the throttle. The Hellcat drops. The tailhook catches the number 3 wire. The aircraft slams to a halt. McCampbell is thrown forward against his harness. And then it's over. He's down. He's safe. The deck. Crew is swarming the aircraft. McCampbell pops the canopy, climbs out. His legs are shaking. Adrenaline crash. He's been in combat for 90 minutes. 9 kills. Out of ammunition. Out of fuel. He walks toward the island, where the debriefing officer is waiting. How many? The officer asks. McCampbell holds up 9 fingers. 9. The officer stares. 9 confirmed? McCampbell nods. 9. The maintenance crew checks his Hellcat. 4 rounds of ammunition left. 4 out of 2,400. And the fuel tanks are bone dry. The crew chief estimates McCampbell landed with less than 30 seconds of fuel remaining. 30 seconds. That's the margin between landing safely and ditching in the ocean. Between survival and death. The news spreads through the fleet immediately. McCampbell shot down 9 aircraft in one mission. 9. It's the highest single mission total for a U.S. Navy pilot in World War II. And it'll never be broken. Why? Because by late 1944, there aren't enough Japanese aircraft left for any pilot to shoot down 9 in one engagement. The Turkey shoot in June, this battle in October. American pilots are running out of targets. The Japanese are running out of planes, and pilots, and fuel, and hope. McCampbell's tally for the war will reach 34 confirmed kills, the Navy's top ace, more than any other naval aviator. But the 9-kill mission is what defines him, because it's not just about the numbers, it's about what those 9 kills represent. Each aircraft McCampbell shot down was an aircraft that didn't reach the fleet. Each bomber he destroyed was a bomb that didn't hit a carrier. Each kamikaze he killed was a suicide pilot who didn't crash into a destroyer. McCampbell didn't just shoot down aircraft, he saved ships. He saved lives. Hundreds, maybe thousands of sailors are alive because David McCampbell said no. No, you're not getting through. No, you're not hitting my fleet. No, you're not killing my men. And then he backed it up with 9 kills and an empty gas tank. The Navy awards him the Medal of Honor. The citation reads, "For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty." The ceremony is brief. McCampbell doesn't like attention. He's uncomfortable with praise. Did my job, he says. That's all. The war ends. August 15th, 1945. Japan surrenders. McCampbell stays in the Navy. Peacetime Navy now. No more combat. No more killing. He rises through the ranks. Captain. Instructor at the Naval War College. Various staff positions. The Navy wants to keep its war heroes. Use them to train the next generation. McCampbell is good at it. He understands air combat at an instinctive level, can explain it in ways that make sense, can take a young pilot and turn him into a killer. In a good way, the way that keeps you alive. But peacetime duty is boring. There's no adrenaline, no stakes, no moment when everything depends on your decision in the next 3 seconds. McCampbell retires in 1964. Captain, United States Navy, 33 years of service. He moves to Florida, buys a house, tries to adjust to civilian life. It's harder than he expected. What do you do when you've been the best fighter pilot in the Navy? When you've shot down 34 enemy aircraft and saved a fleet and earned the Medal of Honor? You don't talk about it. McCampbell never does. He doesn't write a memoir, doesn't do the lecture circuit, doesn't cash in on his fame. He just lives quietly, plays golf, fishes, enjoys retirement. The Medal of Honor hangs on a wall somewhere. The Navy Cross, the Distinguished Flying Cross, all the decorations from a war that ended 40 years ago. He doesn't think about them much. June 30th, 1996, West Palm Beach, Florida. David McCampbell dies. He's 86 years old. Natural causes. They bury him at Arlington National Cemetery, Section 7A, Site 144. Full military honors. The Navy sends a color guard. Taps is played. The flag is folded and presented to his widow. Across America, most people don't notice. Another veteran dies. Another name in the obituaries. Another funeral at Arlington. But in the Navy, among aviators, David McCampbell is a legend. The fighter pilot's fighter pilot. The man who shot down 9 aircraft in one mission and landed on fumes. There's a building at Naval Air Station Oceana named after him. A destroyer, USS McCampbell, commissioned in 2002. A highway in Florida. A scholarship fund. Small tributes to a man who never asked for recognition. Here's what the Navy understands. What every pilot who studies McCampbell's career understands. Combat aviation is about decisions. Split-second choices made at 400 miles per hour under fire. Do you engage or evade? Do you chase that last target or go home? Do you risk everything for one more kill? Most pilots, even good pilots, play it safe. They do their job, follow doctrine, survive to fight another day. That's smart. That's rational. That's what you're supposed to do. David McCampbell didn't play it safe. When he saw 60 Japanese aircraft heading for his fleet, he attacked with 7 planes. When he shot down 8 aircraft and was low on fuel and ammunition, he chased down number 9. When every logical calculation said go home, he stayed and fought. Why? Not recklessness, not glory-seeking, not a death wish. Duty. That's what it comes down to. McCampbell understood that his job wasn't just to fly and fight. His job was to protect the fleet, to stop the enemy, to save lives. And if that meant flying until his tanks were dry and his guns were empty, then that's what he'd do. The 9-kill mission isn't about marksmanship. McCampbell was a great shot, sure, but so were lots of pilots. It's not about the aircraft. The Hellcat was a great plane, but other pilots flew Hellcats and didn't get 9 kills in one mission. It's about relentlessness. McCampbell didn't shoot down 9 aircraft because he was lucky or because the Japanese were incompetent. He shot down 9 aircraft because he refused to stop fighting until the threat was eliminated or he was dead. And that kind of determination, that kind of focus, is what separates the good from the great. Every pilot who flies off a carrier faces the same fear. The fear of running out of fuel over open ocean. The fear of ditching at sea. The fear of watching the engine cough and die when you're still 20 miles from the ship. McCampbell faced all those fears on October 24, 1944. He knew his fuel was critical, knew he was pushing his luck, knew that chasing that 9th aircraft might kill him. He did it anyway, because the mission mattered more than his fear, because protecting the fleet mattered more than his survival. That's what courage is, not the absence of fear, the decision to act despite it. There's a moment in every fighter pilot's career when they're tested, when the situation is impossible, and the odds are zero, and every rational voice in their head is screaming to break off and go home. Most pilots listen to that voice. They survive. They're smart. David McCampbell didn't listen. When he saw that wave of Japanese aircraft, when he realized it was 7 against 60, he could have called for help, could have shadowed the enemy and waited for reinforcements, could have protected himself and his men by avoiding contact. Instead, he attacked, alone, outnumbered, outgunned, because the fleet couldn't wait, because reinforcements might not arrive in time, because if he didn't stop those aircraft, no one else would. And 90 minutes later, when the smoke cleared and the ocean was littered with burning wreckage, and McCampbell was flying on fumes with 4 bullets left, the American fleet was safe. That's what matters. Not the 9 kills, not the Medal of Honor, not the record that will never be broken. What matters is that every sailor on every ship in that fleet went home because David McCampbell refused to let the enemy through. He didn't think of himself as a hero. Heroes are people in movies, people in books. He was just a pilot doing his job. But here's the thing about heroes. They never think they're heroes. They think they're just doing what anyone would do. They're wrong. Most people, faced with 60 enemy aircraft and 7 friendly planes, would make the smart choice, the safe choice, the choice that lets them survive to fight. Another day. David McCampbell made the right choice, the hard choice, the choice that saved lives at the risk of his own. That's the lesson. That's what we remember, not the numbers, not the tactics, not even the incredible skill it takes to shoot down 9 aircraft in 90 minutes. We remember the decision, the moment when McCampbell saw the wave of kamikazes and decided, not today, you're not getting through, not on my watch. And then he proved it, with bullets and determination and an empty fuel tank. There's a reason the Navy names ships after men like David McCampbell. There's a reason his name is taught at Pensacola and Oceana, and every fighter squadron in the fleet, because his story is a reminder of what we're supposed to be. Brave when it's easier to be cautious, relentless when it's easier to quit, selfless when it's easier to think of yourself first. On October 24, 1944, David McCampbell had every excuse to play it safe. Low fuel, outnumbered, no reinforcements. Any pilot would have been justified in avoiding contact. But McCampbell didn't want excuses. He wanted results. And the result was 9 dead Japanese aircraft and a fleet that survived to fight another day. That's not luck. That's not chance. That's a man who decided that some things are worth dying for, and then lived to tell about it. Barely, with 30 seconds of fuel and 4 bullets. But he lived, and the fleet lived, and the mission succeeded, because one pilot looked at a wave of kamikazes and broke it alone.